Joining me now to lay it all out, Fox Business contributor Lou Basenese and the CyberGuy, Knutsson. Lou, first let me start with you. You say the future of transportation is three things, and you say it's innovation, adoption, and it is infrastructure. Explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, look, every big technology disruption requires these three things. First, you got to invent the technology, the innovation. We're there with flying taxis and driverless cars. I mean, Waymo's doing 500,000 ride-sharing fares every week, but we're not there with adoption and infrastructure. So the willingness for people to get in cars, driverless cars, is not there yet. I mean, flying taxis is probably even lower. The latest survey I showed was 1 in 4 people are willing to get in a driverless car. But then infrastructure, you mentioned it in the lead-in. We have failing roads. We can't even keep up for normal vehicles. How do we provide the infrastructure to facilitate things like electric vehicles that take off and land and need to charge, the charging infrastructure, the regulatory infrastructure? So I think those three things aren't all there yet, but we're getting much closer, and I think this is a tech trend that you have to be looking to invest in now and through the next 5 to 10 years.
But Lou, that's a government investment that needs to be made. That comes from the U.S. taxpayer. That comes from the Transportation Department.
And it's a chicken and an egg thing, too, right? We ran into it with electric vehicles. Think of the lack of charging stations for electric vehicles. I mean, the first electric vehicle hit the road back in like 96 or 97, coming from General Motors. How many charging stations do we have today? So, yes, you have to have the government on board with the technological innovation to pave the foundation of the infrastructure. I don't think we're there yet. I think we're approaching that with Sean Duffy being the head of transportation now to see the future and plan for the next 250 years.
Absolutely, and it's something that the Transportation Secretary has championed, is making sure that the technology upgrades are up there. And Kurt, that is your point in all of this, in the future of transportation. You say that technology plays a key role. Sometimes it's easy. You just replace expensive loud helicopters, for example. You update the software. Talk more about that.
I'm just excited about where we're going. And to Sean Duffy's point, innovation really is the key in that aspect, and he has been behind that. You look at what, we were talking before the show about how I subscribed to the Blade helicopter service. I spoiled myself and got the airport pass. That has now been, that traditional helicopter service, acquired by Joby, one of the two big companies that are going to really revolutionize how we get from point A to point B in a short amount of space, such as from Manhattan, if you're in the tri-state area of New York, to any one of the airports. And that, I'm so excited for that to happen, because it's going to open the door to consumers that will be scratching their heads on, first, how this is happening, and two, it's going to reduce the cost of operating. So you're going to see in the long run, you and I and Lou can grab one of these rides for as much as we're spending on an Uber to go to the airport. Do you want to get there in 5 minutes in the future, whether you're going down to, I don't know, the mall near your house or some other point of interest near your home, or do you want to sit in your car for an hour to get there? And it's just, it's an unbelievable time in our country to see this evolving this quickly.
We were looking at video of the Transportation Secretary and eVTOL. At the same time, that is where the U.S. government, again, needs to come into play, Kurt. They've got to make sure that they are keeping up with new technologies, such as flying taxis. And that, again, it comes down to an investment choice.
It does. One thing, covering CES every year, the big consumer electronics show, I've seen these things on display, not flying, but seeing, just went, okay, this is coming and this is remarkable. You said eVTOL, so that's electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. It's a incredible device that some are autonomous. I'm not about to get in that yet. Lou, I think, is like, yeah, I'll go.
I'm ready if they come up with a better acronym for
and Lou, you've mentioned that you've got to get the trust has to be there from the consumer. Real quick, you say that's got to be a piece of this.
I mean, think about the generations that were a suspect of the internet and then social media. I mean, it's every technology goes through a phase of adoption, and you've got to get critical market adoption before you get the infrastructure pulled, before you get the willingness from the government, local and state, and federal, to say we're going to make these investments because the people are asking for it and they're supportive of it. Otherwise, you're going to get pushback from taxpayers saying we don't care about flying cars, really, which sounds crazy.
Or you're going to see other countries like China that are going to get ahead of us, and that's a whole nother special we'll have to get into. But we cannot talk about transportation and the future of transportation without talking about SpaceX. And one of Elon Musk's goals includes getting people and cargo from London to New York 29 minutes. That is incredible.
I would love to see it. I mean, I adopted a young girl, my daughter, from Korea, and it took 14 hours to get there. If you could tell me I get there in 30 minutes, I would bring her home tomorrow and frequently. I think this is the future, and Elon Musk is our generation's Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, whatever you want to call him. He's a genius that is thinking not decades, but hundreds of years in advance of everyone else, and then developing the technology to make it happen. So if this is on his roadmap, I don't know anyone that's betting against Elon to do this. I think this would completely revolutionize the way we think about globalization, localization, and transportation.
Well, but you know, Kurt, when he comes out, when Elon Musk talks about we're going to Mars, we're going to build data centers in space, great. The average American is saying, I want to get somewhere faster on an airplane. I don't want to spend 5 hours crossing the United States. You know, there are some in the investment community that say that he is going to become a direct competitor to Boeing, to Airbus.
Yeah,
Again,
and to airlines as well.
Yes.
So, I mean, true. So what we're talking about, everybody had their eye on what he's doing next, and we all think he's kind of crazy with us going to Mars. But believe me, I think we all agree it's going to happen, and to the moon. But did you know that point-to-point idea is also part of SpaceX future, which is, you mentioned going to London, I think, from New York. Well, London to Shanghai in an hour. I mean, that's what's real. So you can get into one of these spacecrafts, and they're calling it Starship, that's the name of it, and you won't go to the Mars or to the moon, but you're going to go to one of these cities, blasting off in minutes and get there. There's no time for champagne on board.
And that's an investment story.
It is an absolute investment story.
This
Look,
is a
you have to
make-money
look,
story.
SpaceX right now is an investment in the future vision of Elon Musk, not today's fundamentals of the business. Inhabiting Mars, landing on the moon, point-to-point travel, that's what you're buying into, the future and the hope that he can backfill against those promises.
All right. Well, Lou, Kurt, you're going to be staying with me. I will see you later on in the program. It's great to have you both here.